In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. A parable is a story that is told sort of to have a point to it, a moral to it. There's lots of parables in the Scriptures. And a parable might be true. It might be about something that really happened, but most of the time it's a story that's a made-up story. It's not a lie, it's just like a made-up story. And this is a parable that the Lord told. So he said this parable. He was speaking to all the people. He was teaching them. And a certain man planted a vineyard and let it out to husbandmen and went into a far country for a long time. So we have a man who plants a vineyard. What's a vineyard grow?
I don't know.
Vineyard sounds like vine. What grows on vines? Grapes grow on vines. A vineyard grows grapes in order to make wine. And he planted this vineyard, he put it with grapes and got it all ready to go, and then he went into a far country. So was he going to take care of the vineyard? No. He was going to have other people take care of it. Those are called husbandmen. They are people who would take care of whatever farming that the Lord wants them to do. Now, in this parable, do you know who the certain man is? Well, sometimes the Lord gives parables where he doesn't refer to himself directly. He doesn't say, God did this. The certain man, though, here is God. So you could read this parable like this. God planted a vineyard, and the vineyard is the church. And those people in the church are supposed to take care of everyone in the church, the bishops and the priests and the deacons and everyone else. Really, we all should take care of each other. And then he went into a far country means that, well, is Jesus walking the earth right now? No. Did he ever walk the earth? Yes. He was born, he was incarnate, right? He became man by the Virgin Mary, and he lived for about 33 years, we estimate, 33 and a half years. And then what happened to him at the end of his life?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. He was crucified, right? And he died. What happened after he died?
He went up to heaven.
He went up to heaven, didn't he? He arose from the dead. But before he went up to heaven, he stayed on earth for 40 days and he taught his disciples all kinds of things. And then when he went up to heaven, it's called the ascension. And he was on the ground and suddenly he started to rise up into the sky, and they were watching him, like you'd be watching a balloon go way up high. Finally, he disappeared from sight. Jesus did walk the earth, but he doesn't do it anymore. You know who he wants to do his work now? Who do you think? How about me? How about other priests? How about other bishops? He wants the church to do his work, and he's trusting us to do a good job. So this is really what this is talking about. Well, it's also talking about something else, about the Jews. But the Christian understanding of the parable is that the vineyard is the church. And we're to grow and to bear fruit. Does it make any sense to have a vineyard where the grapes don't grow? No. Why would you want a vineyard where the grapes don't grow? You want the grapes to grow and get really big and juicy, right? So you can make really sweet wine out of them. At the season of the grapes, he sent a servant to the husbandmen, that they would give him the fruit of the vineyard. That makes sense. He owns the vineyard, and he wants to bring someone to say, hey, give me the grape harvest. But you know what they did to that servant? They beat him, and they sent him away without anything. So they were really mean to him, and they didn't give him the fruit of the vineyard. Well, the whole point of taking care of a vineyard is to have fruit, and then you give it to the person who owns the vineyard, right? So in the church, we're to bear fruit. We're to bear fruit. We're to become good, holy, kind, compassionate, obedient, all those things, because God made us to be good and made us to bear fruit. But these people, they didn't care about that. They threw away the first man, and they beat him up. And then he sent another servant, and they beat him too. So these husbandmen, these people who are taking care of the vineyard, they're not very kind at all. In fact, they're very selfish, and they're not obeying God. So he sent a third slave, and they also wounded him and cast him out of the vineyard. So 3 times he sent somebody to get the grapes, and they didn't give it to him any time. So then, here's what he did. The Lord of the vineyard said, I will send my son, and it may be that they will obey him and reverence him when they see him. So, God the Father has a son. Who is that son? Yes, you do. Jesus Christ. So, this is about Jesus sending his son to us to teach us about the way of life. And what happened? Well, when they sent his son, they killed his son. In real life that happened too, didn't it? Right? Not just in a story. In real life, when Jesus came, he was killed by the Jews, wasn't he? He was crucified on the cross, he died, then he was buried, then he rose again on the 3rd day, and we know that he's alive. Because he's alive, we're alive. So they killed the son, and guess what happened to them? The Lord of the vineyard was very angry. So he sent his army, and he just killed the people in the vineyard, and he gave the vineyard to others. And you won't understand this now, but that's actually a sign of that the Gentiles would come into the church. I know that's hard to understand. My theory is this. No matter how much you play with your boots, no matter how much you hear or don't hear what I say, if I keep saying it to you year after year, as you get older and more mature, the gospel will be very sweet to you. What's the sweetest thing you can think of?
Grapes.
Grapes? I was thinking you were going to say candy. Right? Honey? Grapes are the sweetest thing, right? I'll remind you when you don't want to eat grapes when I give them to you, that they're the sweetest thing. The gospel's even sweeter than grapes. But it's kind of funny how we develop a taste for the gospel versus a taste for grapes. Grapes we just like, right? You eat grapes, they're good. Everybody likes grapes. But the gospel, everybody doesn't like. You have to read the gospel lots of times and start doing what the gospel says, and then it's very sweet to you. That's what I hope that you will be doing in your life, that you'll be reading the gospel as you get a little older. You can't even read yet, can you? You can read a few little things, right? You can read your name, stuff like that. But eventually you'll be able to read, and I hope that you'll read the gospel. And I'll give you a little secret. Most adults don't read the gospel. Even Orthodox Christians, they don't, which is sad. I don't want that to happen for you. I want you to read the gospel, and I want you to read the epistles and the holy books. And I want you to want to be good and to bear fruit like you're being in a vineyard. So that's this story. There's a few other details, but it's kind of hard to explain them to you. God bless you.